What is up, everybody? JT Dangerous here once again. I am back for my 2018 NBA Playoffs first round predictions. Now, with the regular season in the books tonight, we are now into my favorite part of the year and where it really matters when it comes to NBA teams, the NBA Playoffs. 16 teams vying to win this year's NBA championship. So I'm very excited to do these predictions for you guys. This is our second year doing it, and I hope you guys do enjoy. Now, our record last year was 15-1. So last year was such a huge success when it came to NBA playoff predictions. So I'm looking forward to this year, our second year doing this, hopefully with another winning record, and it starts right here in the first round. Now, if this is your first time watching my channel as a first-time viewer, and this is your first video, boy, you picked a good one if you're a huge NBA basketball fan and you're ready for the NBA playoffs. Welcome to the Dangerous Lions. I am JT Dangerously, and welcome to the club, because this club is just to... Whoop, whoop. Again, thank you guys so very much. Now, other than that, let's get right into these first round predictions. Starting off in the Eastern Conference with the Toronto Raptors facing off against the Washington Wizards. Now, the Toronto Raptors are coming in the best team in the Eastern Conference after losing to the Cleveland Cavaliers in the conference semifinals last year. They have stormed back this season to have easily their best seasons in the NBA so far. And the Raptor squad has been keeping it 100 every game. They have got the best record in the East, and with players like Kyrie Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, Serge Ibaka, OJ Anunoby, and Jonas Valanciunas, I can never say this guy's name, but they've been getting it done. And Fear of the North is definitely in full effect. And with Drake there, hey, maybe it is God's plan that they can go far in the playoffs this year. Then on the other side, you have the Washington Wizards, who are coming off that tough loss in 7 games last year to the Boston Celtics in the conference semis. What else can you say about Washington teams? It's the curse. The curse is still in effect. No Washington team has ever gotten past any conference finals, any league championship series, nothing. So the Wizards have a tough first-round matchup this year. But they have some great players like John Wall, Brandon Beal, Otto Porter Jr., Markieff Morris, Marcin Gortat. But again, this Washington curse is just looming around the Wizards and any Washington team like a black cloud. So coming from me in this first-round matchup, I'm going to go with the Toronto Raptors to defeat the Washington Wizards. And now the next matchup. It is a first-round rematch featuring the Eastern Conference champions, the team that made it to the finals last year, the Cleveland Cavaliers, facing off against the Indiana Pacers. Now, the Pacers are looking to get some revenge after last year where the Cleveland Cavaliers swept them out of the playoffs. So Indiana's looking to get some revenge against the Cavaliers. Now, first with the Cavaliers, are coming off that finals loss to the Golden State Warriors last year, but this year's Cavaliers team is very different. Some of the players are back, but there's a lot of young talent because of the trade deadline. They got rid of some of their older players to get younger players. Now, we already know when it comes to Cavs basketball, it's all about LeBron playoff mode, and playoff mode is in full effect for the Cavs this year, and they're looking to make another run back to the NBA Finals. Now, players to look out for like LeBron James, Kevin Love, Jose Calderon, George Hill, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson, Kyle Korver, and their newest addition to their team, Kendrick Perkins, so a big guy in the center position. But this Cavaliers team is coming from me one of the 3 best teams in the Eastern Conference. Toronto's number 1, Cleveland is number 2. Then on the other side, you have the Pacers, who are coming in after getting swept last year. This year, a lot of people didn't expect them to be here. They're maybe the big surprise of the year in the East, because after losing Paul George to the Oklahoma City Thunder, a lot of people thought Indiana's not going to be a great team without him. But this Indiana Pacers team has proven a lot of people wrong with players like Miles Turner, Darren Collison, Victor Oladipo, Thaddeus Young, Bojan Bogdanovic. This team has been the biggest surprise in the Eastern Conference other than the 76ers. But with having Victor Oladipo there, a guy who I watched at Orlando, he's a fantastic player, and they're gonna be fine without PG-13. So coming from me in this first-round matchup, it won't be another sweep. I'll just say this right now. It won't be a 4-game sweep. I can see this maybe going 5 games. just minimum. So coming from me in this matchup, I'm taking the Cleveland Cavaliers to defeat the Indiana Pacers. And now the next matchup, it is the red-hot Philadelphia 76ers facing off against the Miami Heat. Now, starting off with the 76ers, what a surprise this was in the Eastern Conference. A team that's been perennial losers for years after years after years, losing records after losing records, number one draft picks after number one draft picks, to finally make the playoffs for the first time in a long time. The 76ers team is, coming from me, the most dangerous team in the Eastern Conference, and I think this team can get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, they're riding a 16-game winning streak coming into the playoffs, so they are really hot right now, and with Philly sports teams getting it done, like the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, the Flyers are in the Stanley Cup playoffs against the Pittsburgh Penguins. You have the Philadelphia Phillies going through their the first month of the regular season, and Villanova winning the national championship. So this 76ers team is hot. They kept the adage of trust the process. Now it's time to complete the process. And they have some fantastic players on this team. Players like Ben Simmons, who I think should win the NBA Rookie of the Year. You have Joel Embiid, Dario Saric, Robert Covington, J.J. Redick, one of my all-time favorites, T.J. McConnell. So this 76ers team is young, but they got some talent around them. Now, Joel Embiid may not play this series because he had an orbital bone fracture. He's been wearing a mask, so we don't know if he's going to be playing in this first game, but in this first series. But they have enough talent to have without Joel Embiid. Then on the other side, you have the Miami Heat, who another team that surprised a lot of people for making it in after years of not making it, got in. So the Heat haven't been really good since the LeBron James, Dwayne Wade era, but they're still a really good team with players like Dwayne Wade still there, Gordon Dragic, Hassan Whiteside, James Johnson, Kelly Olynyk, Josh Richardson. So the Miami Heat are looking to knock off a really good Philadelphia 76ers team. So coming from me in this first round matchup, this one's going to be a good one. I can see this maybe going 6, maybe 5. But coming from me, I'm going to take the red-hot Philadelphia 76ers to defeat the Miami Heat. And now the final matchup in the Eastern Conference, featuring the Milwaukee Bucks facing off against the Boston Celtics. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks are coming off a tough loss last year in 6 games to the Toronto Raptors. And this team has gotten even better this year with players like the Greek Freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jabari Parker, Eric Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, Shabazz Muhammad, John Henson. This Milwaukee Bucks team, like I said last year, if they made the playoffs this year, I would say they would win a playoff series. And I think they may be the team that could be on lookout mode in the NBA playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Then on the other side, you have the Boston Celtics, who are coming in after losing to Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Final last year. This year, they had a lot of hopes. I mean, they signed Gordon Hayward out of Utah, and then on the first game of the season, he breaks his leg. They get Kyrie Irving from Cleveland. He's done for the season with a knee injury like a few days before the regular season ended. So, and Marcus Smart being also out does not help their matters. And Boston's coming in limping. Hell, not even limping, crawling in, and they're definitely on upset alert in the Eastern Conference. But they do have some players to keep them in it, like Al Horford, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. But losing Gordon Hayward in the first game of the season, losing Marcus Smart late in the season, and then losing Kyrie Irving for the rest of this year hurt them big time. So coming from me in this final matchup in the Eastern Conference, this one's tough. Again, if Boston had Irving and Gordon Hayward and Marcus Smart, I would say Boston would be in the Eastern Conference Final like that. But without those big-time players, I think Milwaukee is going to take full advantage of it. It's fear to deer. So coming from me, I'm taking the Milwaukee Bucks to upset the Boston Celtics and move on in the conference semifinals. And now on to the Western Conference first-round matchups, featuring the number 1 team in the Western Conference who had the best record in the NBA and has home field advantage throughout the NBA playoffs. They are the Houston Rockets facing off against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, starting off with the Rockets, this is definitely has to be their year this year. They won over 60. I think they won over 60 games this season. If I'm wrong, correct me. But this team has to win the championship now because they overthrew the former number one team, the Golden State Warriors, and they made a lot of big-time moves in the offseason, getting guys like Chris Paul, and adding him with James Harden was a huge, huge deal. Now, they did lose a big-time player in Luc Richard Mbah with a dislocated shoulder, so he's going to be out of this first-round matchup, but they do have a player in Nene that could definitely help them in the paint. But there was one thing I have to say about what Mike D'Antoni said about if we don't win the championship, we should cherish the regular season. Now I know how long Rockets fans have been waiting for an NBA championship since the last time they won it, the 94 and 95 season when they went back-to-back. But for the coach of the Rockets to say, if we don't win the championship, we should cherish what we did in the regular season is a very stupid remark because there's a lot of Rockets fans out there that have been waiting for this chance to win the NBA championship. To have your coach say, hey, if we don't win the championship, hey, at least we had a great regular season. The regular season means nothing if you don't win the NBA championship. Look what happened with the Dodgers in the MLB. They had the best record in baseball, and they got all the way to the World Series. They lost. It was a bust. If Houston doesn't get to the NBA Finals, their whole season this year is a bust. But again, they added some players for James Harden, who I think will win the MVP this year. Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, Nene, Trevor Ariza. But they have to step it up. They have to win it this year. It's win or bust. Then on the other side, you have the Minnesota Timberwolves, who won a big-time game tonight over the Denver Nuggets to get this opportunity, and they ended their 14-year playoff drought. The last time the Minnesota Timberwolves were in the playoffs was 2004 with players like Kevin Garnett and Wally Szczerbiak. Just to see a team that's ended a 14-year drought to make the playoffs this year is great for any NBA fan like myself to see. Now, this Minnesota Timberwolves team is young, but they have so much talent. Players like Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns, Jeff Teague, Andrew Williams, Jamal Crawford, Taj Gibson, and Derrick Rose. This Minnesota Timberwolves team is young and they're hungry, and you know this, and they're maybe my favorite story in the Western Conference. For a team that's been perennial, just losing every season, to make the playoffs this year is just something to see, and I'm so happy for that organization. So coming from me in this first round matchup in the Western Conference, this one's tricky. This one's really tricky. I can see this maybe going, maybe 6. If I'm going crazy, maybe 7 games because Minnesota can give them a fight. But coming from me, I am taking the Houston Rockets to defeat a very good Minnesota Timberwolves. And now the next matchup. It is the Oklahoma City Thunder facing off against the Utah Jazz. Now the Oklahoma City Thunders are coming into this season after losing in 5 games to the Houston Rockets last year. But this year's Oklahoma City Thunders are a lot better. They actually gave maybe one of the best players in the NBA, Russell Westbrook, some help. And they got some big-time help for him. They added players like Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, the triple threat in Oklahoma City, and they're looking to make a deep run and maybe get back to the NBA Finals. Now, again, they have some great players: Patrick Peterson, Corey Brewer, Steven Adams, Billy Donovan has done a great job in Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City can maybe make a deep run in the Western Conference. Then on the other side, you have the Utah Jazz, who are coming off a loss tonight to the Portland Trail Blazers to get this up to drop to the number 4 position. But this Jazz team is good. They made it. They won their first round matchup last year, but they got swept by the Golden State Warriors last year in the next round. But this year's Jazz is very different. I know they don't have Gordon Hayward, which was surprising to see that let him go, but this team has gotten better without him. They got great players like Rudy Gobert, Derek Favors, Ricky Rubio, another fantastic rookie, Donovan Mitchell, who I think it's 1 or 2 to win the Rookie of the Year with Ben Simmons, Jose Ingles, and Jay Crowder. So this Jazz team is really good. Take note, they are a really good team. Now this is going to be a really good matchup. So coming from me, I can see this maybe going 6 games. I'm going to go with the Oklahoma City Thunder to defeat the Utah Jazz. And now the next matchup. It is the Portland Trail Blazers facing off against the New Orleans Pelicans. Now the Portland Trail Blazers are coming in after last year's first round defeat by the Golden State Warriors in a sweep. So they came into this year with a lot of confidence. They are number 3 in the Western Conference. And even without a lot of big-time players, this team finds a way to win. Players with C.J. McCollum, Damian Lillard, Yusef Nurkic, Al-Farouq Aminu. They got some great players. I still think they need a lot of help with They need to do what Oklahoma City did, get some big-time moves and make Rip City championship city. Then on the other side, you have the New Orleans Pelicans, who are making their first trip to the playoffs, with being carried by one of my favorite players, Anthony Davis, the master of the unibrow. But this New Orleans Pelicans team is very interesting. I mean, they're coming in a little bit handicapped, losing DeMarcus Cousins to a torn Achilles, so not having him in the playoffs definitely hurts the Pelicans. But with Anthony Davis riding this ship, they are a really good team. They have some great players like Drew Holiday, Rajon Rondo, somebody who's been in the playoffs before, maybe the greatest three-point shooter of all time, Etuan Moore, and Emil Okafor. So this Pelicans team is looking to make their first time in the playoffs a memorable one. So coming from me in this matchup, this one's really tough. This one's a really tough pick. I just think New Orleans has the advantage when it comes to centers. With Anthony Davis, I mean, maybe the best dual threat player in the NBA right now. So coming from me in this matchup, man, this one's tricky. I'm gonna go with the Portland Trail Blazers to defeat the New Orleans Pelicans in this matchup. And now the final matchup in the first round in the Western Conference, featuring 2 former NBA champions. Featuring on one side, you have the San Antonio Spurs facing off against the reigning and defending and NBA champions, the reigning Western Conference champions, the team that everybody loves to hate, public enemy number 1, the Golden State Warriors. Now, the San Antonio Spurs are coming into this season with a lot of questions. Now, this whole season has been about, is Kawhi going to stay? Is Kawhi going to go? Is Kawhi going to play this season? Is Kawhi going to play in the postseason? But it does not look like he's going to be playing in this series, which is very sad because Kawhi Leonard is such a great player. But with everything that's going on in San Antonio, this could be his last year there, and he may be moving on. But they do have some players to help them without Kawhi, like Patty Mills, Danny Green, Paul Gasol, LaMarcus Aldridge, who has been stepping up for the San Antonio Spurs this season, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, the two old-time veterans that know how to win when it matters most. And the Spurs are looking to knock off the reigning champs. Then on the other side, you have the reigning champs, the Golden State Warriors, who again won the championship last year. They're the reigning champs looking to defend. But this Warriors team is very, very different. We've seen a little bit of some... this Warriors team is not the same Warriors team we've seen in the past. They've had so many injuries, with Stephen Curry being hurt, Draymond Green being hurt, Klay Thompson being hurt. A lot of animus between the referees and them, with ejections from Durant and Green. But the Warriors are still a very tough team to play, but it's not going to be easy for them to defend their crown this year. Even though they have Curry, they have Durant, they have Green, they have Klay Thompson, they have Swaggy P, they have Zaza Pachulia. They got that kid, I forget what his name is. They signed him to a multi-year deal. I think his last name is Quinn Cook. If I'm getting that name wrong, I apologize. But the Warriors this year the Warriors' run to the NBA Finals is not going to be easy. That is for sure. So coming from me in this final first-round matchup in the Western Conference, I kind of think this is maybe the beginning of the end of the Spurs' dynasty, of being a good team every year. Because if Kawhi's leaving, it's not going to be the same team. So coming from me in this matchup, I am taking the reigning champs, the Golden State Warriors, to defeat the San Antonio Spurs. And those are my 2018 NBA playoffs first round predictions. I hope you guys did enjoy these predictions today. Comment below, who do you have winning all these matchups in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. As always, voice your opinions down below. As always, represent your teams in the comments. Even if they didn't make the playoffs this year, represent your team in the comments. Represent your team in my comment section. Let's have a conversation about it. Of course, I'm always on to see your comment, like it, and of course reply right back to you, because comments are absolutely always welcome on this channel. And I do want to thank you guys so very much for watching my predictions this evening. Now, before you go, you can never forget to do this. That like button, comment, share with friends, of course, super kick that like button like only you guys can. Of course, you can never forget to do this as well. that subscribe button, become part of this bigger and dangerous alliance. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks for my official Greatest Royal Rumble 2018 predictions and my New Japan Pro Wrestling Hinokuni 2018 predictions. Later days and peace.